Today on Mercedes Garage, EVs or electric vehicles on Mercedes Garage. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Mercedes Garage. Today we're going to be very controversial and we'll probably lose a couple subscribers. We're going to be talking about EVs and why you probably should not buy one. Yes, an EV or electric vehicle, for people who don't know what EV means, which I didn't at first until knowing that it was electric vehicle, because I call them electric vehicles and people call them EVs, so we'll just call them for argument's sake EV. The problem, first of all, yes, they do have some beneficial components to having an electric vehicle. One, you do have a little faster acceleration, be it if you buy one that has a bigger enough motor and a big enough battery. If not, it's basically like playing with a Power Wheel car from the 1980s, that'll be your acceleration. Now, that said, here's the negatives. One, how would it work in traffic? Yes, it probably will have the stop-go feature like most new cars have, which is an annoying thing to deal with. But think about it. Every time you turn on and off an electrical appliance, say a stove, a refrigerator, there's a surge. So you're surging the power on that battery. So let's say you have 60% charge remaining, you're stuck in traffic. You're moving 10 feet at a time every 10 minutes. It happens, bumper to bumper traffic. You move about a car length in front of you, and if you don't, the person behind you starts honking their horn, flashing their lights, and probably a few fingers here or there. And I don't mean the double finger, you know which one I mean. Because you didn't pull up the car length in front of you in 3.5 seconds fast enough, and they all get upset. And this could happen in car accidents, road construction, just traffic. So your car's shut off in this time. We'll say if it has that feature. Meanwhile, let's say it's a 90-degree day. You have your air conditioner on. You have your heater on because it's cold out. It's not going to shut that off. So you're draining the battery for that. You're going to lose that remaining charge, like I said, for example, 60-70% remaining, whatever that would be equivalent of mileage, and you will run out. Let's say you're backed up a good 10 miles on a turnpike. There's no way off of a turnpike. It's a closed road network. Only way you get off of it is to exit, pay the toll, and then exit. How many roads in America are toll roads, toll highways, toll freeways? That the next rest stop is 100 miles away or 50 miles away or more. The next problem, what about hills? your range will go down every time there's a hill. Every time there's, now going down the hill, you'll probably gain a little bit, but you're not going to gain it back that quick. There's places in America that have hills. The East Coast has the Appalachian Mountains, the West Coast has the Rockies. Now, if you live in the plains, you may be okay. Then you have another problem. Rain, snow, wind, always going to create drag on the tires. So your resistance will be greater. You have greater resistance causing the range to go down further. So when the manufacturer says this car will get 200 to 270 miles of range, basically is nonsense. Yes, and I know that the EPA has said that about gasoline cars and diesel cars for years. Yes, and nobody has ever got the range that the EPA has said. Okay, I understand that. But it doesn't digress that dramatically by doing something such as driving. Driving a regular gasoline or diesel powered car up a hill or in traffic, running your air conditioner or heater, loaded with different things in it, people or cargo, will decrease that fuel economy. We're talking about gasoline for a second. But it won't decrease it that exponentially as it will on an electric car or an EV. Because everything you will be doing will cause that range to go down. And then we have another problem. Now, people will argue this. Please comment below. The cost of a new battery. There's never been, and I could testify to it, I have a laptop. It's only a few years old. I need a new battery. Yes, that battery's only $100 or $140. But an electric car's battery, and just look up a Tesla, is 18 to 25,000 US dollars for that battery. Now, that's a major expense, which is beyond a major expense, to be replacing a battery in a car that is 5 to 10 years old every 5 to 10 years that costs between 18 and 25,000 more or less dollars. Plus, then I'm sure there'll be some kind of environmental disposal fee of $300, $400, $500, maybe even $1,000 on top of that. So you're not insulted enough, not hurt enough by the 18 or 20 or $25,000. We're not talking $500, $600. We're talking 18,000 every 5 years or 10 years if you make 10 years. It's a battery. You don't know when it's going to die out. You may get 10 years out of it. You may get 5 years out of it. You may get 4 years out of it. I know people who say, well, the manufacturer's going to warranty it. Yes, they say it's warranted, but guess what? A manufacturer, an auto manufacturer, this is not just Mercedes, it's any manufacturer, well, how many times will they be wanting to replace a battery at $18,000, $20-some thousand and not getting any money out of it? It's not going to work out too well. Then we have another problem. The 30 plus minutes that it takes to recharge. That's if you're using the fast charger. Okay? They're around. They're not like not around. But what about if you live in a state, we're talking about the US, or a country that there isn't one around. They're hundreds of miles away is the next one. Just look at everywhere in the Midwest, not the Midwest, but the Midwest, like Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Colorado, those states, you could go Montana, you could go hundreds of miles before the next town. There's no charging stations. Plus, where would you get the power? Coal or wind? As you can see behind me, it's not very windy. Solar? Yes, solar. But what would you need? A panel, 400-foot solar panel by 400 feet to charge 3 cars? It's not going to work. The next problem, we talked about the hills, we talked about snow, we talked about that. The next problem is, what about the motor? To electric motor. Yes, cars' engines go bad, internal combustion engines go bad, but if you maintain them, you could get at least 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 miles of not having to rebuild the entire engine. Now, on the electric motor, you can't rebuild them. Yes, you could rebuild the ball bearings, okay, but most people, they don't do that, because if you destroy any of the windings in that motor and the rotor and stator, the part that goes around the rotor, excuse me, the motor is done for. That coating, there's a special coating that it's dipped in. If that coating breaks in the rebuilding process of the bearing, we'll say, you just lost the motor. So the only thing they do is to replace the motor. So you have a car, let's say is 10 years old, you've replaced the battery for $20-some thousand. Hopefully it will still be available from the manufacturer. Then replacing the motor for another 8,000 or 9,000, maybe another 10,000 or more. And remember, a lot of electric cars or EVs have 2 or 4 motors. Depends. Some have 1, some have 2, some have 4. So if you have an all-wheel drive electric car, it has 4 motors. If you have some have 2. It depends on the car. So that could be that charge twice on one, a car that's. And then you have another problem. Most cars today are leased by people, and then the manufacturer gets them back in a few years, like 2 to 4 years, or 4 to 5 years. It's anywhere between 2 to 5 years. So then there's a glut of them on the market. The manufacturer starts selling them off through auto auctions, and they make back some of the money, because then the next person buys the car and then they service it, and so it doesn't hurt the manufacturer that much. But now you're going to have a car that, who would want a 8-year-old car or 4-year-old car that the battery's almost at its, we'll say it's about halfway dead, a motor that could go another 50 or 100,000 miles, more or less, but the car maybe already has 100,000 miles on it, or 60. Average mileage in the U.S. is 12,000 miles, 12 to 15,000 miles a year. So a 5-year-old car would have over 50,000 miles on it. The battery, so you have no market for used vehicles, because who would want them? So now you have a glut of these used EVs on the market that nobody will want, that will have a depreciating value of next to, we'll say, the new Mercedes EQS is $105,000. So now you have a car that will depreciate down to probably around 50, which probably needs a new battery, which is another 25,000. Just look at a Tesla. If you don't believe me, call a Tesla dealer up, and let's see, so now you have, that's 20,000 less than what the car is worth, because somebody's not going to want to be holding that hot potato with a dead or dying battery. So basically, it's not worth anything. Then you're going to kill off, and I'll say the name, Copart. And you're going to say, well, why would they be killed off? Because who would want to buy a car that basically the motor's bad or dying, the battery, I don't know, or it's dying. So basically what's left to it is the body part. Well, the body got damaged in a car accident, so you could strip it down for a few, maybe $1,000, $2,000 in the seats and the interior parts. The biggest part of a car that you're salvaging is the engine and the transmission, where you're not going to have an engine or transmission. You see, these are all things that nobody's thinking about. And then the other problem is that all these people who are saying that carbon monoxide, CO2, is killing our planet. You can see in the background, we're not having black skies. Yes, I agree that the temperatures are warmer than they have used to be. But it's not because of cars. It's not because of man. It's because of maybe a natural phenomena. The Earth's weather changes. It's normal. It's called weather. What else? If you reduce the CO2 levels, plants, trees won't grow because they need the carbon to turn that into oxygen by the process with the sunlight called photosynthesis. Without that, the tree or plant is going to grow. This is a 30-year-old bush. It's only this high. It's not going to work. So and there's countless of other reasons. Who's going to help all these people who are basically driving the Apollo 13 home every day? There's not that many people, services that restart electric cars that have broken down. It isn't like, oh, I'm 5 miles away from the gas station. I'll fill up a couple containers of, I'll walk to the gas station or thumb a ride over to the gas station, and they'll fill up, I'll get ripped off by buying a couple jerry cans at the gas station. I'll take it back and I'll fill it up and I'll drive to the gas station, and that, or maybe you have AAA or some roadside assistance, and I'll give you a couple gallons of gas to get to the fuel stop. What are you going to do with electric cars? You have to charge it. Those trucks, to recharge them, will cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Nobody's going to do that. So this is all things that need to be thought of, because the drop dead date, as I call it, for the internal combustion engine is coming. It's some manufacturers, it's soon as 2025, some as late as 2035. It can't be done. It shouldn't be done. And I'm not saying that manufacturers out there should not make them. I'm saying fine, make a few EVs. Make 10 different models of EVs, but still make internal combustion engines, be it a diesel or gasoline, because this is the worst mistake is being made. And I forgot one more thing. We'll talk about the Mercedes for a minute, EV, the EQS and the EQE, I think it's called. Its range is 275 miles. You could go on Mercedes MBUSA's website and look for yourself. The problem is you then have to charge it for 30 minutes or more. So, but then also waiting to get a charger to charge it for the 30 minutes or more. So for example, now this doesn't include if it's raining, snowing, windy, road construction, road work, traffic, accidents, you name it, that will decrease that range. That's temperature, cold, hot, will all deplete that range. One little point, on a fully loaded with cargo, 3 people, S430 4MATIC 2006, gasoline engine, as everyone would know, could make the 275 miles traveling at the posted speed limits with only using a half a tank or slightly above a half a tank of fuel. No waiting to recharge, no fear of running out of gas or electric in this case. Why am I able to do that and the people in the electric car isn't? That's why it's totally useless put in. There's one other thing which we'll put this in. We should not be forced as consumers who are paying $50,000 plus more or less. It doesn't matter. Even if you're buying an EV for $5,000, you should not be forced into buying something by the auto manufacturer or by your government. You shouldn't be forced into it. It's your decision. If you want to buy one, fine. Be my guest. Buy an EV. Knock yourself out. You don't want to buy one? Fine. Buy an internal combustion engine car. Regular gasoline or diesel powered car or truck. Like every other one. That should be your decision, and that's it. Not a decision based on governments or by auto manufacturers. That's how I feel. And I'm sure deep down most of you feel the same. So that was probably the most controversial video we've ever done. Hit the thumbs up if you liked it. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down. But it's something that needs to be discussed. Like I said, I'll reiterate, this is something that needs to be discussed, and people need to realize what they're getting into and involved with these new EVs that are coming out, and it's not all what they're cracked up to be. So like I said, hit the thumbs up if you like the video, hit the thumbs down if you don't like the video, comment below. Thank you for the 40 subscribers. Keep subscribing. Subscribe to get notified for new videos, and keep on motoring in your Mercedes-Benz. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.